city of Tertium is under attack. My city.
Hi guys, JT here, and today I'm going to be taking you through an upcoming game, Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. A multiplayer co-op game where you and your gang of misfits try to survive through hordes of parasite-infested humans and mutants.
Something different. Something desperate. We take you. The outcast and the criminal. The lost.
The story. The planet is Atoma Prime, in the hive city of Tertium. The city has been infiltrated by Chaos, the parasitic entities from a different plane known as the Immaterium. The Inquisitor's best warriors, either killed or infected with the parasite, have turned into zombie-like creatures and mutants, whose only aim is destruction. The hive city of Tertium is slowly falling to the chaos. Being a capital city, the parasite infection will kill millions of beings and turn it into a wasteland. In a desperate attempt to take back the city and with the lack of warriors to fight off the chaos, the Inquisitors turn to the most expendable population in the hive city. You, a lowly prisoner with nothing left to lose but your life. Banding together, a ragtag team of prisoners, you are sent on various missions to liberate the hive city from the parasitic invasion. It'll not be easy though, as you'll have to face hordes of zombies, mutants, beasts, and monsters that will challenge your very survival. Alone, you will be defenseless against the horde. But in the team, you may just survive this. How did the parasite infiltrate the hive city? Will you and your band of prisoners survive the onslaught and liberate the city? What happens after? Will the Inquisitors set you free, or will you be disposed of like trash?
Last line of defense.
Presentation. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide is, well, dark. The environments blend sci-fi, medieval, and an industrial factory look with a ton of metal, rust, and of course, blood, destruction, and gore. Similarly, the weapons in this game are rustic with much wear and tear. They do look quite realistic even though the construction of them are fictional. You'll find popular weapons from the Warhammer 40,000 universe like the Last Gun, Thunder Hammers, and of course, the Chainsword. You'll have access to both ranged and melee weapons, all beautifully rendered. The guns will have muzzle flashes like guns from our world and also lasers like in Star Wars. The weapons feel and sound punchy. It sounds like you're indeed crunching bones and firing powerful weapons at your enemies. The enemies in this game look like a mix and mash between zombies, orcs, and other creatures in a sci-fi, fantasy, medieval world. While the horde mostly consists of humanoids, there are some large abominations in this game who usually serve as bosses or mini-bosses to ruin your day. Each of the 4 characters that you can choose from in this game represent different classes, and each of them have their own looks and personalities. The Ogryn is a massive powerful mutant but of limited intelligence. The Zealot are holy warriors that will do anything in the name of the Emperor and look to cleanse the universe with their holy rage. The Psychers are sorcerers with extraordinary powers like psychic abilities drawn from the Immaterium. And finally, the Veteran, who is a skilled and seasoned trooper of the Astra Militarum. You can further differentiate yourself by customizing the look and voice of your character, and the best part of all, you can give your character his or her own history and background. Some background information that you can define your character with are their planet of origin, the defining moment in life, and the criminal offense that landed them in the Inquisition in the first place. These small decisions will shape your interaction with your team throughout the whole story. While your party is trying to survive and complete their missions, there's a constant stream of banter from insulting remarks, notifying the team of discovered supplies, conversations on the context of the world in Darktide and factions, or simply the offering of opinions on something. Your superior officer also communicates with the team via a comms device to help build the world. This constant conversation gives each character its own personality. In fact, each character will talk differently from one another, with some characters using Old English as a formal language, or the Ogryn using simpler words to construct simple sentences. The gameplay. If you've played Vermintide 1 or 2, this game will feel quite familiar. If you haven't, Humble Bundle has a deal going on now for both games with all of its DLCs. Link in the description below. Anyway, you will choose from one of the 4 classes in this game as mentioned above. Each character has their own abilities, and although most weapons can be used by any character, each character will have their own special weapons that are exclusive to them. Like only the Ogryn can wield the big knife, and only the Zealot can wield the Thunder Hammer. The 4 players that are on missions together can all be the same class, which will make some hilarious but potentially frustrating moments. Or if a class is deemed OP and all 4 players are the OP class, then you may just steamroll through the different missions. So you can all be Ogrins and run around as giants, whacking everything in your way and talking to each other with limited words, as Ogrins aren't the smartest. Anyway, each character has a ranged weapon and a melee weapon. You'll need to swap between the two depending on the situation you're in and the challenges that are thrown your way. While ranged weapons allow you to thin out the enemy's numbers, the horde will eventually get close to you to tear your face off. Close enough that it is more effective if you whip out your force sword to cut them to pieces. And there is plenty to cut in this game as arms, legs, heads, and bodies fly everywhere with dark blitz splashing all over the place. You'll also have access to a limited amount of grenade to aid you in thinning out the numbers of your enemies. Each character class will have access to its own passive skills and abilities. Like the Orgrin could use Bull Rush, this ability will see them surge forward, mowing and crushing any enemies in its path. Or the Zealot, having the ability to resist death while taking lethal damage. The gameplay loop is very similar to the Vermintide duology and Left 4 Dead. You'll be taking on a variety of missions from a central hub. These missions will see your 4-player party traveling through different parts of the hive city of Tertium, completing a variety of objectives and fighting off hordes of basic and specialized enemies looking to tear your guts out to ruin your day. Like Vermintide and Left 4 Dead, the 4-party gang will yell out when they find different resources like bullets and first aid, or the first aid equivalent. Characters will also call out for help to revive them when they are down, but given their unique personalities, how they call for help may sometimes sound like an insult. But they need your help, so why are they so mean? At the moment, Darktide is very difficult. Whether this is a design choice to force players to work together or a difficulty coding needing some work, it is satisfying to clear areas together. The idea that the writers are going for is to make you feel vulnerable at all times, and in the face of overwhelming hordes of monsters and high difficulty, this game does make you feel that way.
Elevators out, but the staff lift's intact. You can climb down to maintenance.
First impressions. The world of Darktide is dark and grim, and everywhere sort of looks the same after a while. You run into this dark industrial looking area, running through corridors and open spaces, then go into another dark industrial area with rust everywhere, and oh look, there's a burning furnace, before moving into another industrial area with some variation. Although in saying that, Fat Shark has clearly put in a lot of work in the details of the environment and lighting. Even though the world is dark, the light makes it somewhat beautiful, yet grim and dangerous. I'm not too familiar with the Warhammer 40k lore. In fact, I'm not at all familiar with any Warhammer lore. So from an outsider looking in, the story is decent, being able to move the story forward and give you a reason to go through the space sci-fi hell, but not something deep with complicated twists and turns like God of War or Metal Gear Solid. However, it is miles better than the story in Left 4 Dead, which I didn't even pay attention to at the time. In saying that, I am looking forward to playing through the various missions to advance the story and actually find out if you will eventually find freedom from your Inquisitors or continue to be policed by them for the rest of your life. I find the character banter is really interesting. The banter really brings out the personalities of the characters that you're playing, rather than the generic sentences seen in Left 4 Dead. I do hope that the class that you've picked can be further diversified into subclasses. This will bring plenty of replayability as you play each class and subclass, leveling them up and upgrading them, which is also a feature that I hope will be present. The guns, melee weapons, and characters look great too. Each character class has a certain look to them that gives them personality based on looks alone, like the Orgrin looking like a cross between the Hulk and an Orc, while the Psychers looking like monks going on a sci-fi pilgrimage. I feel like the main attraction here is definitely the weapons. Guns feel punchy, especially those that shoot bullets instead of lasers. The melee weapons are really satisfying to use too, watching it slice opponents' limbs off in glorious black blood and gore, or the Great Hammer crushing enemies with a crunch. It is so satisfying to listen to, watch, and use. I like that the game forces you to work together to get from point A to point B, and also complete objectives. I quite like that the game is difficult at the moment. I hope that even if you die, you can at least somehow benefit from the progress you've made. A little bit like a roguelike. If balanced properly, this system can be very addictive. As per previous games, I would imagine that Darktide will have a flurry of DLCs, as this game is advertised as a live service game. As much as I would prefer it if the full game is released, it's good that players get to continuously support Fat Shark in creating new content. And looking at Vermintide 1 and 2, there will be a ton of DLCs coming our way that will introduce new adventures and maps. I just hope that loot boxes will not be present in this game at all. All in all, I'm looking forward to Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. The gunplay and melee gameplay looks really fun, and if played with the right type of teammates, this game will be a blast. If only I have friends. This game releases on the 30th of November 2022 for Steam and Xbox Series X/S shortly after. So what do you think about Warhammer 40,000 Darktide? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.
And if it's come to this, then God Emperor help us all.